Hi. We had a very big night at the legislature this week. We had our joint legislative session where the House and Senate comes together to vote for regent candidates. This is a tough one for me, given I'm chair of higher ed, because I have been working on reforming the process and working on recruiting candidates very hard for, ever since I became chair of higher ed. And so, it's been several years. Last night, we actually, in the district where I live, which is the 3rd Congressional District, we put aside the recommendations of the Regent Candidate Advisory Council. We put aside recommendations of the Joint Committee that met a couple weeks ago, and the legislature ended up deciding between two candidates that weren't recommended. On the one hand, former Congressman Bill Luther was nominated from the floor and ended up to be one of the final 2 people, because in order to be a finalist, you have to have, we kept dropping off the lowest vote getter so that we could get to a place where one person would have at least 50% of votes cast. So former Congressman Bill Luther was nominated for the floor, and he was a finalist. And then Darren Rocha was nominated from the floor. And Darren Rocha was not interviewed by the RCAC process, nor was recommended by the Joint Committee. Darren Rocha, it's interesting, he actually was a student regent many years ago, and now currently resides in the western suburbs. So here we had these 2 people with the final vote, and I can tell you that the vote was very close. It ended up to be, I believe, 98 to 96, and Darren Rocha is now a University of Minnesota regent. So I look at all that and I say, is our process appropriate? Is it, you spent all this time recruiting, interviewing, having committee hearings, and then in fact members of the legislature can nominate from the floor and those candidates go forward, and there's really no predictability. So I'm going to continue to look at that. It should be noted, however, that it's in our Constitution that the regents are chosen by a joint legislative session. So if we do reform this process, we either have to kind of do it around the edges or bring it to the voters for a change in overall process. The other thing I wanted to take special notice of, and of course there is more to this than just the 3rd district. The 1st district, we elected Patty Simmons for another term. She has previously served 2 terms. Previously, Dr. Simmons was a physician with the Mayo Clinic. She's now retired, and so I'm pleased that we'll be able to take full advantage of her expertise. Previously, she had to recuse herself when we were discussing matters that related to the med school or to the healthcare facilities. So the very thing that we wanted her expertise on at the board, we couldn't even take advantage of. So that's really pretty exciting for the state of Minnesota. I think that we're lucky that Dr. Simmons agreed to serve a 3rd term, and she will provide a great deal of knowledge and expertise. In the 4th district, Rick Beeson was reelected. In the 6th district, we elected Michael Shue, who was recommended by the Joint Committee, and in the 7th district, Tom Anderson, who was also recommended by the Joint Committee. So that's it on the regents. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is I did have another hearing on the MNvest, the equity crowdfunding bill. Previously, we had a hearing where the Department of Commerce came to the table and said they had many concerns. Since then, we have worked diligently with the folks from Commerce, with my staff, with outside advocates, and we got to a place where they announced we were 95% there, and they sat beside me at the testifying table recommending that the bill move forward. So that was a victory, and the Star Tribune happened on the same day to publish an editorial that was written by Senator Brandon Peterson, myself, Representative Loon, and Representative Atkins. So a strong bipartisan group of legislators promoting this very new and innovative approach to allowing small businesses to access capital. So take a look at the editorial if you'd like, and thanks again for tuning in.